Hello, this is Barry the Movie Demon here, and we're doing another midnight snack this time. It's churros. So, let's get started here. I have a pot on the stove. I have another one off screen for oil to fry them in because these are fried. I have my little heat-proof spoon spatula thing. And then the ingredients list. I have a half teaspoon of vanilla. I have the whole thing of vanilla, but we're going to use a half teaspoon. There's 1 cup of flour. And then I've got about a tablespoon of sugar with a 1/4 teaspoon of salt in it. And 1 egg. There's also half a cup of water here. And a 1/4 cup of butter, which is half a stick of butter. I'm going to cut it. You probably shouldn't cut on your cooktop. You'll notice I don't go the whole way through here, so that I don't hurt the cooktop. We need half that stick. And we're going to make a thing called Pate choux. That's used in eclairs. It's used in cream puffs. It's also used to make churros. So how you do that is similar to making gravy, where you would do a roux, which is fat and flour, but we're going to do fat, which in this case is butter, and then we're going to add the water to it and that sugar and salt. So we start with the half cup of water here and the butter. We're going to heat that to boiling with the sugar and salt in it, and then once it's boiling, we're going to start doing the rest of the ingredients. We also want to put the vanilla in at this step, and you notice I don't really measure. It's about a half a teaspoon. You can measure it to be sure. But we're going to turn the heat on this and stir it around a little bit and let it boil. And we'll be back as soon as that's happened. Alright, our butter and water and sugar, they're all boiling. And it's about time to add the flour. Now, we want to turn the heat down a bit before we do this, but you add the flour in and then stir quick. You want to cook the flour in the pot like this. This is not going to go in the oven. With cream puffs or something like that, it would go in the oven, but we need to cook this flour. So we're going to use the heat in the pan and the boiling water and the butter to cook the flour. It's going to thicken. Right now it's kind of just random lumps, and what you're looking for is a really smooth consistency. It's almost kind of like really squishy Play-Doh when it's finished. I don't know a better way to describe it, but you keep stirring it, keep it on the heat, and sorry about the steam here. You'll see I keep getting clumps of flour in it. That's okay. If you just keep stirring it, they'll eventually get incorporated, and it's starting to come together a bit here, but we'll keep going, stirring and stirring and stirring. Once this is all kind of smooth, we turn the heat down again to practically nothing, and we're going to add that egg. But we got to get it there first. We got to get all the flour incorporated, and see it's coming together nicely right here, except for that chunk of flour. Got to fix that, and stir it a little more. We're cooking the water out, or some of the water out, and cooking that flour, because raw flour contains E. coli sometimes, and also it just needs to cook for this to work. But you shouldn't eat raw flour. This is why they sell edible cookie dough, because it has flour that's been heat treated to kill the bacteria. That's a nice consistency right there, and we are making it. I kind of made a little well in the middle. You'll see why in a second when I put the egg in. You don't really want the egg to hit that hot pan, because it's just going to turn into scrambled eggs or fried eggs. I want to incorporate it into the dough as well as I can, and as quickly as I can, so I'm going to stir this really quickly. And I think I got a little bit of egg that got cooked here. It all gets incorporated in the end, and you don't actually notice it, but you should try to avoid that. You can actually pull this off the heat and let it rest for a few minutes before you incorporate the egg, and then it should still be okay, because it's still going to be pretty hot. And we're going to stir that around, get that egg all in there, and it takes on the consistency of Play-Doh, you know, the stuff you mold, and that's about where you want it. Now, after this though, you're going to have to rest this for a few minutes, because eventually this is going to be in a piping bag in your hand, and you don't want to burn yourself with stuff straight off the stove. Plus we have to heat our oil. So once I get this to the right consistency, I'm going to set it to the side and get the oil on. And that'll be in one moment here. Alright, I have my oil on, and I piped a tiny bit of dough in there as a tester, and obviously this was not ready, or it would be bubbling a lot. I didn't put a thermometer in here, but it's better now. It's been on the heat for a few more minutes. I loaded the piping bag up, and I used a star tip on the piping bag. I know it's hard to see, because it doesn't extend much past the end of the bag, but you want ridges in your churros so that the sugar and cinnamon have somewhere to go. I did remember I have a laser thermometer, and this is about 300 degrees. So it's got a little ways to go yet. You want it around 350 to cook these. And when it's ready, we're going to come back and I'm going to pipe these churros. Alright, we're at about 350. And I'm going to show you the other stuff I have. I have this metal thing called a spider to pull the churros out with and to flip them around. I also have a paper towel lined plate just for draining afterwards, and in a plate full of cinnamon sugar. This is about, I don't know, a teaspoon of cinnamon or so, maybe 2 teaspoons of cinnamon to about a cup of sugar. Checking the oil again, and I'm gonna have to pull that tester out there before I pipe. I almost did it. That's no good. It's been sitting in the oil and it's getting soggy. The next ones won't be. They won't be soggy. They'll be nice and crispy. And we're going to pipe these in. I would normally use, for piping things, just the Ziploc bag with the end cut off. But churro dough, pate choux dough, is thick. And it's not going to work. If you put it in a Ziploc bag, it's just going to bust off the side. So I had to use an actual piping bag. And as you can see, it's not straight. I'm not sure how you get a churro to be perfectly straight like the ones you can buy. But mine come out like crunchy little cinnamon snakes, and that's okay with me. One mistake I do make here is I overcrowd this pan. It's kind of a small pan for frying anything like this, and these all kind of stick together. You can avoid that by using a bigger pan, piping smaller or less churros at one time. Or if you know the secret to making them straight and separated all the time, I'd love to know what it is. You could also do that. But I put a few of them in here, and they will end up getting stuck. Unfortunately, it makes more of a churro funnel cake than individual churros. You can use this for funnel cake and just not use the star tip, but it's kind of thick for a funnel cake. Funnel cake is more like a slightly thick pancake batter than pate choux dough. But it would work as a funnel cake if you wanted to do it that way. It still tastes good. But as you can see, they're in here. They're all stuck together, but they're there. And we're going to probably flip them once in a while, just to make sure the other side is browned. But you can see they're kind of soft right now, so they're not ready. Okay, they're hardened up enough that we can flip. This is after a minute or so. You want to get them nice and golden brown. But these flipped fine. They're not quite golden, so we'll flip them again at least once before they're finished. And at some point I'm going to try and break these up into individual churros again, because it's going to be much harder to coat these all in cinnamon at one time. Check my temperature, and we're at about 320 to 330, because adding things to the oil does break them down, or sorry, does cool it down. This broke up. I broke one piece off, luckily, so I have a churro to coat. We lay them on the paper towels, pat them dry real quick, get a lot of that oil off, and then we go into the cinnamon sugar, straight in with the hot churro. Now, you're probably going to burn your fingers just a little, but while it's hot and still kind of oily, the cinnamon sugar sticks really well. And you have a churro. Go enjoy it. This way you could melt down caramel or chocolate as a dipping sauce.